You're listening to part 1 of Academy FM's Grassroots project, funded by the Overstone Fund through the Kent Community Foundation. The project takes young people from Folkestone who are either in education or unemployed and shows them some of the environment around Folkestone. For our first trip, we visited the Battle of Britain Museum at Hawkinge, just outside of Folkestone. Hawkinge has a large house and estate that's built on an old airfield site. The museum exists so people don't forget the young men who died in the Battle of Britain and the role that Hawkinge played.
Hawkinge Airfield dates from the First World War when it was named Folkestone Field. It became famous in the Battle of Britain in 1940, near the beginning of the Second World War. It was the nearest Royal Air Force station to enemy-occupied France. The Folkestone area was known as Hellfire Corner. When the Second World War broke out on September 3rd, 1939, RAF Hawkinge was used for training pilots. However, it was changed to a base for Spitfire and Hurricanes fighter aircraft. Throughout the Battle of Britain, Hawkinge was worked non-stop. Often, pilots were forced to land at Hawkinge because of battle damage after fighting the German Air Force, known as the Luftwaffe, over the Channel. Pilots would come in to refuel during operations and lay in the sun while the ground crews attended their aircraft. Pilots would come in to refuel during operations and lay in the sun while the ground crews attended their aircraft. And they watched their vapor trails high above as their comrades fought the aerial battle with the enemy. August 12, 1940 saw the first air raid on Hawkinge. Many of the buildings were destroyed by the Luftwaffe, however, it remained operational and continued to be used throughout the war. Hawkinge's past came to life in 1968 during the making of the film Battle of Britain, and the airfield once again looked almost as it had done 28 years earlier. But the memories only lasted a few weeks and Hawkinge again reverted back to green fields and grazing pastures. Today, most of the area occupied by Hawkinge is a housing estate. But one small portion does remain, thanks to a few enthusiasts of the Battle of Britain. They have managed to use some of their old airfield as a museum with many relics of aircraft, British and German, and artefacts that will help us to continue to remember those that served and gave their lives for Britain.
When we arrived at the museum, Ben noted a small concrete structure sticking out of the ground, with slots on the outside like a pillbox. It was a Pickett-Hamilton fort designed to protect the airfield if enemy troops attacked. The fort would rise out of the ground on hydraulic jacks, surprising the enemy. Inside would be soldiers shooting out of the holes in the sides. We went over to have a look in one of the holes.
Well, it's like a brick sort of chimney-looking type thing. It's got I think it's 3 or 4 holes in it looking out at us. It's dark. It's grey with loads of green patches on it. It's got like a little lift thing up the top where you can climb in and out. It's deep, it's filled with mud. It's got a ladder in. Looks a little bit rotten.
Oh yeah, it's got kind of big staple-like steps on the side.
Yeah.
When we talk in it, if I put the microphone in there, you can hear the echo of the inside on the recording. And this is kind of it's a type of pillbox, which is where they'd have soldiers inside, and if the airfield was attacked, then the soldiers could fire their guns out of the slots. One of which we're looking in at the moment. But this one's a bit different because it can retract into the ground. It used to be on some sort of hydraulic mechanism, so if the enemy was approaching, they wouldn't see it, and then it would pop up and they'd start firing at them. And they had these all around the aircraft. Oh, there's a hatch in the top.
Does it open up?
No. Otherwise you could have climbed in.
It was the first time that any of us had been to the museum. We spent nearly 2 hours in there and saw the remains of many crashed planes from the Battle of Britain. We also learnt about the men who flew them, most of them only being a few years older than us. We couldn't record in the museum, but we were given a guided tour by the manager, David Brocklehurst, who told us how the museum is run by volunteers who give their time for free. When we came out, there was a strange coincidence. A real Spitfire flew over our heads, with people in helicopters nearby filming it.
It's like a Spitfire going over.
We're at the Battle of Britain Museum in Hawkinge. We just went round the site, saw a few of the replicas of the Spitfires, the Hurricanes and some Nazi planes. In the museum we saw planes, Rolls-Royce engines, damaged aircraft, an ambulance, many more vehicles such as cranes and even a Nazi plane.
I thought when I first walked in there, I kind of thought, oh, here we go, another museum, it's going to be quite boring. But no, it actually is quite interesting, like, to hear, well, I actually quite appreciate that I'm in this generation, because back then, because I'm 18 now, I would be in a Spitfire flying around and possibly getting killed, and I feel quite sorry for them, and I thought it was a great experience, really.
Hi, I'm Courtney.
Hi, I'm Eve.
And what did you think of the museum?
It was very special how they got digged up all their old artefacts. That's what they're called, aren't they? Yeah. And then they put them on display, and then they're running it on the base of like donations and how we pay to get in, and they don't get paid to sell, so it's very like selfless.
Do you think you could have flown a plane back then and shot down some Germans?
No, but I could. I wouldn't. I'm a strong woman. I can.
I thought it was quite interesting because obviously I want to join the army and everything, and like seeing RAF stuff's like really interesting and everything, and like picking up a bit of history that I didn't know.
We learnt that during the Battle of Britain, Spitfires and Hurricanes flew from Hawkinge.
The Spitfire. The Supermarine Spitfire was a British single-seat fighter aircraft that was used by the Royal Air Force throughout the Second World War. It was produced in greater numbers than any other British aircraft. The Spitfire was a high-performance aircraft. The Spitfire's wing was very thin, allowing high top speed than any other aircraft. During the Battle of Britain in 1940, the Spitfire became famous. It shot down many aircraft and was praised by the young men who flew it. The Hurricane. The Hawker Hurricane was a single-seat fighter aircraft like the Spitfire. More Hurricanes flew in the Battle of Britain and were regarded by their pilots as very stable and trustworthy aircraft. They shot down many Luftwaffe aircraft. Hurricanes were also used as night fighters to shoot down enemy bombers attacking London. Flying in the dark was a skilled business as they didn't have the radar and instruments that modern aircraft do. Over 14,500 Hurricanes were built and at least 12 survive in airworthy condition worldwide.
Some of us want to learn more about the Battle of Britain.
Now, Ben, you were talking with the manager of the museum, David Brocklehurst, and he was talking about some of the veterans. Is it right you're going to go and meet one of them fairly soon?
Yeah, on the 15th of July. There's a sort of like veteran get-together thing, like people that were from the World War that are actually going to be gathering up at Cape Fern on the 15th of July.
Now, you live here in Hawkinge. What do you think about your house basically being on a site of an old airfield like this?
I don't know, it's pretty weird. It's quite scary as well, because you never know what could be underneath it.
Well, you might have a bomb under your house.
You never know.
What have you got out of visiting the Battle of Britain Museum?
I've heard a lot of stories about people, what they've gone through. I've learnt a lot about the planes.
What do you think it must have been like living in Folkestone during the Battle of Britain?
I think it must have been horrible. I think it must have been really scary for people, and like families being split up, evacuated. I wouldn't imagine, I can't imagine what it'd be like. I wouldn't have liked it at all.
Has coming here made you think a little bit about the history of the area?
Yeah, it has a lot. I used to love history, and it's made me really want to get back into it and learn more. Can't wait to go to the next museum.
Now we're leaving the Battle of Britain Museum and going to the Museum of Peen.
The next place we visited was the Peen Railway Museum near the Channel Tunnel site. A railway line called the Elan Valley Line used to run from Folkestone to Canterbury and fast through Peen. The railway was a major transport link into the 1940s when it was taken out of service. It's now remembered by the Peen Railway Museum and a footpath that runs where the tracks used to be. You can hear about our walk up the track on our next trip, but for now, this is us visiting the museum and learning about railways in East Kent.
I'm here at the Peen Museum and we're with a trustee, Gary.
Hello.
So Gary, what do you do here?
Basically, I just look after the place, keep the models running and just make sure everything's okay.
Tell us about the Elan Valley Railway.
Right, well, the Elan Valley Railway used to run between Folkestone and Canterbury. The original line, I know you use radio, but you can't see it, but just behind us is the original line, what used to be, that tree line, and used to run from Cheriton all the way through to where Canterbury Hospital is.
Uh-huh.
late 40s, early 50s, it actually finally closed. Basically, during the wartime, it was used more as a military railway for troop movements and munitions going back and forth between Canterbury and Folkestone. The line actually became a loss, started making a loss. That's why they removed it, like a lot of the small railways. And what we've got here is, in the old station building, we've got a model of the original line, along with various artefacts that relate to the line and local life in this area. The chap who originally set it up was a guy named George Wright, and he was always interested in trains, and he wanted to preserve a bit of history for the local line. And so he acquired this bit of land and decided to build the museum.
What kind of trains do you hold here?
Well, we have most of the trains here are models or replicas. In the building behind me, we've got the Eurotunnel model railway, which is actually a scale model of the English terminal, which is fully operational with all the trains that you'd see over there on the terminal. In the museum part, we've got, as I say, a model of the original line, which is running little 060 pannier tankers. And then we've got a full-scale model round the corner, which you are more than welcome to get in and play.
You said about the railway closing, and also how about that they used to carry army troops. Did any trains get bombed at any point?
No trains actually got bombed that we know of, but there used to be a railway gun in Bourne End Tunnel.
By a railway gun, what do you mean? Is that for shooting down aircraft or something like that?
Basically, the gun was what they call a howitzer, which was used for smashing fortifications. It had a limited range, but it was big, and it was more of a morale type thing, because Churchill actually came down and visited it as well.
On August 28th, 1884, work started on the first part of Ealing Valley Line at Newington near Folkestone. By July 1887, 6 trains were running each way on weekdays between Shorncliffe and Barham. By 1889, the stations at Bishopsbourne, Bridge and Canterbury South had been built and were open. There are 2 tunnels, one at Edging which is 89 metres long, and the other in the shallow cutting on the Bourne Park Estate near Canterbury, which is 300 metres long. The railway line gave the population quicker and easier access to the city of Canterbury and the fashionable seaside resort of Folkestone. It was also useful for local farmers to move cattle and grain. During the Second World War, the railway was taken over by the War Department, and in 1941, a massive railgun, the 18-inch Boschbuster, was stored in Bourne Bark Tunnel for a few years. The gun was so large it was capable of launching a 1-ton shell 19 miles into the English Channel when positioned along the Ealing Valley Line. The line was closed down in 1947 because of lack of passengers. On June the 13th, the last official goods train left Canterbury West at 1:18 p.m. and the following day the final passenger train puffed out of Limerick Station at 9 p.m.
Outside the museum is a little railway that you can sit on and get pushed down a small track. It may have been designed for kids, but that didn't stop us.
Can I be the driver? Yeah.
Now, I just want you to describe what you do.
Ben, you're describing. That's why I've got the mic there.
Well, we're on a, was it?
5-inch gauge ride-on.
And we're just going to there and back again. It looks pretty fun, as you can hear the horn going there. It's mainly for little kids, so obviously it's not very far there and back.
At the museum, there are several buildings with model railways of the old Ealing Valley Line and the current Eurotunnel site. There is also a signal box with working controls and intercoms and a large railway engine you can climb into.
Now, this train looks very old. It's the Southern train. Did you know that, Courtney? No, I did not, Harry. No, so the weather's beautiful and it's shining upon this lovely train. So what do you think of today then, Courtney? I'm meant to be the interviewer. Yes, but we have to share, people say. We're going to carry on to our interview with Eve. Right, Eve, how are you enjoying today?
Yeah, because I think it's good.
Yeah. Sorry, Harry's messing around in a train and making a lot of noise.
I think it's good because, like, We get to play on the trains and all that, and we got to have a little ride.
Because we are little kids deep inside.
So what do you think of this place?
I think it's very interesting, because there used to be a railway line between Folkestone and Canterbury, which there isn't now.
We could be like the new band. Break on, break off.
It's a bit like, do you watch Thomas the Tank Engine as a kid?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Excuse please.
It's got like Thomas the Tank Engine, but green. That's where you put the coal in.
Nice.
It's a bit dirty, doesn't it? You like pulling that lever, don't you?
Yeah.
Where is he?
He's up in that room.
Are you speaking to him on the phone? Is he in the signal box?
Yeah.
The museum also has a pond and a family of ducks.
Right, I'm going down to see the duck family. Passing a sign that says beware of the trains. The trains are only about a foot high, so I think I'll be all right. What are you up to, Harry?
Not a lot, Dave.
Have you been to see the model of the railway?
Yes, I just saw a spider.
Don't you like spiders?
No.
OK, welcome to the British outdoors.
Thank you.
Oh, look, little baby ducks! Oh my God, there's baby ducks.
Look, can you see the baby ducks, Dave?
The museum at Pt1 is very near the Ural Tunnel complex. Many local people work on the Channel Tunnel, and it is a major local landmark. In one of the museum buildings is a massive working model of the Channel Tunnel complex, which shows how trains are routed in and out of the Channel Tunnel. It's the largest model railway we have ever seen, and it took 16 people to make it.
So what are we looking at, Colin?
We're looking at trains made by especially people around the world, well, by 16 people.
Trains made by about 16 people.
Oh, yeah.
It's a model, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what it's a model of?
It's the Eurotunnel and the other trains and stuff, really.
It's a big old model, isn't it?
Yeah, massive.
OK, so we've just come into the model of the Channel Tunnel, and all the young people have just been seeing this. And so on my left-hand side, there is a scale model, exact replica of the Channel Tunnel site. We've got the car shuttle train coming up. There's I can see the lorry train in front of us, and you can see the Eurostar coming through at some point. And Gary's here as well. And Gary, did you actually help build this back in the day?
Yeah, I did. Nearly 30 years ago, this was originally built. To replace this model now, you're talking about £1.5 million.
That's just staggering. Why is it that much?
Because all the shuttle vehicles and a lot of the rolling stock all has to be produced specifically for this. It's not available to buy as a commercial product.
So I can't go and buy for my train set at home. Not that I've got one, but I'd love one like this. You know, that car shuttle thing, you can't buy those sorts of things.
Generally, no. There are, when the exhibition centre used to be open, they were available in kit form. So people did buy the kits. And now and again, they pop up on that auction site on the internet.
So that's what we've got on our left. So that's a working model, and you can hear the trains going. Now, there's a picture over here on our right, which is the actual site. And so this is how you can see that is a real replica of the true Channel Tunnel site. But this picture's also got the outlying villages as well. So tell me, what did this mass of platforms and train and road network, what did it look like before the Channel Tunnel was here?
Well, originally you had Biggins Wood here, which was famous for orchids, rare orchids, which is more or less where the platforms are now. And the main sort of whole control area and all the car parks was all fields. And right through the middle was what they called Danton Pinch, which was like a little small village. Originally the whole area was quite a dip round to where the Biggins Wood was, so they had to build up the area, and they used piped sand, which was brought in by barges and dredgers, and they piped it into the site until eventually they got the levels they needed for the trains to be able to run.
Oh, so this is all a sand foundation underneath all of these platforms?
Basically, yes. I mean, as you drive along the motorway, as you go down towards junction 13, if you look over to the left-hand side, you'll see a concrete wall. That was all built up, so that will give you some idea of where the ground level was originally.
That's when we're in our car, we all shout, "Fast train to France!"
Yes.
So, and then the train does a figure of 8. So we've got the bottom part of the 8 here, if the top part is in France, and so the train comes down across on the right-hand side of the picture, and then what happens? Because we've got where all the lorries come in here.
Yeah, the train comes around, as you say, comes out of the tunnel, comes round on the right-hand side of the picture, and then goes underground, underneath the tolls and the Continental Main Line, and then comes round in a big loop behind Newington, round just behind the museum here, and then comes back out and into the overbridges.
But I can't see a train line there.
No, it's underground. You can just make out vents for it there.
Oh, so did they build these tunnels, or did they dig into the ground?
No, it's a cut and cover. So they built all the ground up, and then they put the trains in and then covered the whole thing over.
So it actually is a kind of sound barrier, really, for those people living in Newington and Peen.
That was the main reason for it. It's acting as a sound bund. Yeah.
Can you, if you actually live in these areas of Newington and Peen here, I mean, they look very close. They're only a couple of inches on the picture from the actual Channel Tunnel site. Do you get much disturbance from it?
No, well, I mean, I actually live in Peen, and we hear the motorway and the original Folkestone-Ashford line more than we hear the terminal. Unless there's a delay on the terminal, and then you get a lot of the lorry drivers operating their air horns. But generally, no, there is not a lot of noise.
That's great. So if this is the bottom half of the figure of 8 and the top half is in France, is there a similar model railway of the top half of the figure of 8 in France?
No, there used to be. There used to be 2 models originally. One was in the English Exhibition Centre and one was in the French Exhibition Centre.
But how much does this take to maintain now? Because, I mean, you're still maintaining this now, aren't you? This is part of the purpose of the museum, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's an ongoing job continuously with the maintenance. I mean, earlier this year I completely rewired the model because she started to get unreliable. The biggest problem we've got is, as all the vehicles were purpose-built for this model, we have problems trying to maintain them with parts because it's not an off-the-shelf item. So it's sort of mend and make do all the time.
So you're out there with your welding kit and you're banging little shields, are you?
It's soldering things and rebuilding things all the time, yes.
That's fantastic. So you've got this model on this side of the Peen Museum, and then on the other side of the Peen Museum you've got a model of the old Elam Valley Railway line. So did you build that one as well?
Yeah, I originally designed that, and it was built with help from the Folkestone Model Railway Club, and that was nearly 20 years ago.
And that's a stunning model, that is, because you can identify those places in those villages. If you know Lyminge and Elam and Barham and all the rest of it, you can identify the little shops because they look so like what's there now.
Yeah, I mean, we used did a lot of research and sort of local knowledge, but there was a fantastic book produced by Brian Hart, which sadly is out of print. But if you're looking for information on it, that is a fantastic book. Basically, we call it the Bible.
In the building next door is another model, this time of the old Elam Valley line. It has a model train that runs up the route that used to run from Folkestone to Canterbury.
We are walking into the old station building. I'm walking in and I'm seeing a row of a little model. Well, I wouldn't say little, it's quite big actually. And I can see some trains, lifelike little trains.
This is like a scale model of the railway between Folkestone and Canterbury. Now, of course, you've got to drive up through Hawkinge or whatever, but in the old days, you could get on a train. I think down at the far end, that would be Folkestone. That would be the Cheriton side of Folkestone. And then this is coming up, and we've got a station there. Can you see what station that is? Has it got a sign on it?
Homewood. Cigarettes. No. Oh, Lyminge.
So that's Lyminge Station.
Lyminge Station, yeah.
And you can see the shops there. Third one from the left, that's now a Chinese takeaway. And the station building now is Lyminge Library.
Oh, yeah.
So you can see it from the main road. You see a white kind of wooden building, and that's what used to be the station, but now it's the library.
Whereabouts are we on this?
We are right, kind of at the far end, fairly near Folkestone. If you were to carry along the line, what's left of it, you'll get to this station here, which is Elam. And then further along, going through the countryside, over a few bridges, along the model.
Barham.
Is it Barham or Barham? I'm not sure.
Someone said it earlier, they said Barham.
Probably depends on how posh you are.
Where is Barham?
Heading towards Canterbury.
Oh, it's on the other side. Oh, Bridge.
Bridge, yeah, just outside Canterbury.
Oh, there's a little couple saying goodbye.
Oh, bless. Have you ever been to any of the places that we went to today in Peen or at the Hawkinge Museum? Have you done that sort of thing before?
No, I haven't. First time.
Would you go and pay them a second visit? Is there more to see there for you?
There's more stuff to see as well. So stuff I already know. So there's more information to add on.
Did you enjoy today?
I did.
What were the best bits for you?
The Pt Museum. I liked seeing the trains and having to go in them. And the beeping sound it made as you went in. We all enjoyed that.
Have you had a good time today?
Yeah, I have.
What have been the best bits for you?
Probably the Battle of Britain.
Why did you like that?
Because I'm into the army and everything, and going to the Battle of Britain, it was really interesting for me.
But you live fairly near it. You've never been there before, right?
No, I didn't know it was there.
Okay. Would you go to somewhere like that again?
Yeah, I want to try and go to the War Museum in London.
Did you get much out of going to the museums?
Yeah, like the train was quite cool to learn about all of that and how the army went from place to place. It was quite fascinating, really.
You've been hearing about our trip to the Hawkage Battle of Britain Museum and to Peene Railway Museum. The Elan Valley Railway line used to run past Peene on its way to Canterbury, and in our next trip we will walk some of the way up the old train line, part of which is open to the public. We'd like to thank Academy FM for running the project, and the Overstone Fund and the Kent Community Foundation for funding it. Without their help, it could never have happened.